handling, and then of course whenever I get a shipment in. So I'm not loading up like a full truck and zipping across the yard to where I need to have a lot of speed. I just need this thing to be super reliable, and I want it to be as efficient as possible, and I think I totally nailed it. I'd like to do a follow-up video on this forklift, so if you guys have any questions, write those in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to those in the follow-up. Otherwise, go check out my ice cream truck video, and don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. We'll let it sit that one.
That's awesome. We should definitely that one.
Yeah.
Then it had twice that much sugar.
Do is pull the carburetor off. We'll do a quick rebuild on that. We'll get that reinstalled, get this bike running as is, just to see exactly what's wrong with it, and then we'll finish the teardown. All right, up next is the front fender, and currently neither one of my three-wheelers have a front fender, so there's nothing that I can use as a reference for this, but I remember the factory plastic fenders as being pretty ugly on these three-wheelers, so I decided to use some sheet metal just like I did on the rear, and kind of give it my own design. I start off by building a
Oh my god.
just to kind of see what angles I like, what angles I don't like. Once I have that all set up, I then make So, starting off, the biggest thing, what do we have? Hose locations. Okay, that was a big issue. A lot of people complain about me running these hoses in the front. I do have just enough clearance so that when it is fully tilted, it goes up or down and it doesn't really rub against anything. But I don't like it after moving back and forth, so I'll definitely look into that. The next thing I've got here, motor cushion. And there is a pressure buildup because there is supposed to be a cushion. And all that cushion does is when there's a high pressure buildup on one side, it just pushes a little bit of that fluid to the other side. Almost makes the motor not quite like neutral, but it does allow it to coast or
Take a
maybe
nice
freewheel is a
video.
good term to just spin it a little bit more without building up too much pressure on that. There is a guy who reached out to me. He is much more of a hydraulic expert than I am. That was one of his biggest recommendations. I will definitely be doing that. That should help protect that motor in the future. The next thing I've got over here, my hydraulic routing. The hydraulic routing on this is not correct. I told you guys it goes from the pump up to our steering valve, and then from the steering valve through the tank port to our secondary spool valve. That's not the correct way to do that. I believe this is called hooking them up in parallel. What I should have done is I should have gone through this end port right here with a Power Beyond sleeve. Now I did try setup similar to that. Initially when I hooked this up, I had all of the fluid going to our main 3-spool valve, and then I had a Power Beyond sleeve from the neutral port to the steering. Now because these are relatively cheap spool valves, I couldn't source the correct Power Beyond sleeve, so I actually had to machine one myself just so I could get fluid to our steering. The issue that I had, when all of the fluid initially went to the 3-spool valve and then to the steering, what that meant was when I had the motor actuated, so when I'm driving forward like so, all of the fluid was diverted to the motor. So then while I'm driving forward, I would go to steer it and I would have no fluid. And I figured, obviously, I would rather have steering at the cost of speed. Lifting capacity is theoretically a little bit lower. Now, the counterweight on this thing might weigh 10,000 pounds, so it might not be an issue with how much weight I can actually lift in the front. You guys saw me at 30 inches on the front. It could lift 3,504 pounds, and it still has steering. So we know that we don't have so little weight on the back that it's not properly steering. So as far as I can tell, the lifting capacity of this is still exactly where it needs to be, but it is something I will. Now there's really no change in the drive speed here, but there is a huge difference in the speed of the steering. You'll notice that I'm able to hold the joystick to the left or the right a lot longer instead of making it. It's a lot more natural to use it this way, but it is going to take some getting used to. I probably had about 3 hours into this forklift before I was really comfortable with
Dope.
it before, and it'll probably take another 3 hours or so in its career from scratch. She's 5 episodes in. It's an absolutely fascinating build. One thing that I really like is that she shows the frustration of building a hydraulic system.
Ternyata rapi. Semestinya
For kind of pushes like this, so we're just gonna have to test that. So with that said, these motors are mainly built for torque, not speed, but what if we just turn this around and mount chain